Hi, my name is Jill Monroe, a member of AAFCA. Today, we are thrilled to be talking with one of the stars of the Apple TV Plus series, Lessons in Chemistry, Asia Naomi King. I want to introduce the AAFCA members that are on the call today. Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Karan Lenore Kelly in Karan. Now I'm confused because you just said you're moving. Nancy Green in Los Angeles, Dana Abercrombie in New York, and Najir Chambers in
Washington, D.C.
In Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. I'm going to step back and let the members do what they do. Thank you, Carolyn.
Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the times.
I would like to offer you a job as the host of our cooking show.
Are you concussed?
No. You are poised to become a TV star.
Welcome to the final show.
We're live in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, viewers. This is Supper at 6. Do I need a catchphrase?
Don't overthink it.
Never understood what that meant.
I stand proudly with the overlooked workhorse of the kitchen, women, and baked potatoes.
What the?
Just stop your crying of the time of your life.
You've got something almost no one has.
Breaking through the atmosphere.
A platform. What you say matters.
Politics don't belong in the kitchen. A man wants his wife to make him a drink after a long day at work.
Why do you assume that his day was longer than hers? Why don't you make them drink?
Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the times.
You are what I treasure most in this world. Not because you are pretty, not because you are smart, but because you love me and I love you.
You think you can't do it, and you do it anyway.
Your ability to change everything starts here. Children set the table. Your mother needs a moment to herself.
Hi, I'm Asia. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carolyn First, or What Happened in Carolyn Toss podcast. This show is, I think it's a very interesting show because it talks about the chemistry of cooking, but I think also the chemistry of like, that sounds so paltry when I say, but I really do mean it. For your character, Harriet, from the first time her character is introduced and like going throughout the season, the phrase dreams deferred keeps coming into my head in relation to this character. And Harriet symbolizes hopes and dreams deferred. And so I want you to talk about how she's someone who her dreams were deferred in having to raise her children and her husband, and then her husband going off to fight in the war and then coming back, and in her dreams being deferred, she had to fight a new one, which is social justice movements, which is activism, advocacy, and she's fighting for this. She's fighting against this highway that's going to be planned to be driven through their neighborhood, and I found that's like her latching onto a new dream, and she's like, I need to find something to fight for. I need a new dream. So talk about Harriet and her hopes and dreams deferred, and in having to find a new dream against even her husband's wishes.
Hi everyone. Thank you. I love that. That is so. I feel like that is so accurate. That really rings true to me as well with Harriet. It really is dreams deferred, and I think especially during that time, I can't even say that time, I would say now as well, the onus is typically put on women to carry the household, to raise the children, to just bear the brunt of the work of keeping and holding up our communities. And that is really the case with Harriet, because she was getting an education as well. She was striving towards her dreams, and I love that we explore that within her character, that we explore how, I love the scenes where Harriet talks about, I don't regret my kids, but I have regrets, and basically about how she has learned so much around her own capacity to expand, becoming a mother and being the wife and mother and activist that she wants to be. And there is something in her that is striving to fight against the indignity of what it was to be a Black person at that time, the indignities that were forced upon her, and wanting to make sure that her children wouldn't have to suffer in the same way. And I just love that we get to explore that with this character, because within the realm of this story, within the realm of the book, it really explored womanhood, but it didn't explore Black womanhood. And that's what I loved about what we did in the series. We opened that up and we gave context to that time period and world by exploring Black womanhood as well. And so, like, yes, there is so much around Harriet that just continues to strive to achieve her dreams. And I love also that we get to witness the tension that is created between her and her husband when he returns and she decides, like, hey, I've waited, it's my time now. And as the episodes go on, you learn that even though she has taken up that mantle to be like, now it's my turn, that didn't slow him down from going after the things he wanted. And you see how that tension is building up in their marriage. So I just love that you're seeing this like complicated couple, this couple that loves one another and wants to work with each other and doesn't want to get in one another's way, but just tackles things very differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do know what you mean. And there's the scene where after the protest where he acknowledges what she's been saying to him all along. And I do like that we get that moment with him acknowledging it. Because it could have been very easily like, okay, we fought, we move on. But he's like, he had to sit and he's like, you know what? I get what you were saying. He's like, I fought the war over there, but you are still fighting a war over here in the same sense. So like, I like that we had that moment of acknowledgement for her struggles as well.
Yeah, that's actually one of my most favorite scenes that we got to film. It was just I thought it was so beautifully written, and it was such an intimate scene, and the kind of thing where he's finally like really being his most vulnerable self and just speaking on his fears. Because I think what makes this couple is so beautiful is that they both want the same thing. They both want this better future for their children, but they're going after it in very different ways. Like, it is made Harriet become this activist who's like, no, like we've got to fight this system in order to make things better for our children, while he's like, no, we got to keep our heads down and earn money and build this life. And Harriet's like, you could earn all the money you want, and that won't keep us safe until the system changes, but I love like their overall want and desire and connection is rooted in this love of family and each other. And that scene was just so sweet because I mean, just the way at the end of it, the way he's talking about like, what if you had gotten hurt? What if something had happened to you? And all she could say is, because she can't promise that she won't get hurt, like no one can promise that. And all she can say is like, I'm here, like right now, I'm here. And I just, it was just so like this, like a light touch, this like beautiful, really honest moment rooted in like the truth of we really actually have no control over this, but we have to keep moving forward.
Oops, great. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Nigel Chambers from Big Go Belt Media. I know we're here to talk about lessons in chemistry, but given the opportunity is something I've always wanted to ask you. And I want to go back to the cultural impact, the some of the greatest moments in television, and that's TGIT. I want to know, and I feel like when you talk about the birth of Black Twitter and live tweeting and folks, tuning into their television with wine, you have to take a look at the slate of the shows and how that just revolutionized how folks consume television even to this day. I'm curious, has you and your peers ever just really sat back and kind of pinch yourself in terms of the impact, the cultural change that you all have made with the work of those shows? And can we possibly see Michaela possibly come back for a How to Get Away with Murder spinoff of sorts? I feel like there's more television to be told here. Thank you.
Oh, I mean, that was a time. That was a time that, I think like me and my castmates, when we were filming Murder, like we could feel it because like the energy just on like Instagram and Twitter, like everything, it was so hot. Like, like people were so invested and so involved, and it was truly unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. So we definitely felt that. And I think what made it so sweet, like that made it that much sweeter, is that like we all really enjoyed being around one another. Like we had so much fun filming together. It was such a great set, a great sense of family. Yeah, it was a really wonderful time. And I mean, like, yeah, the landscape of just how like TV has changed even since then has moved in a direction that I don't think anyone could have foreseen, with the onset of streaming coming to the height that it is now. And yeah, but it's like it's so hard because it was a really exciting thing, this like week after week, like edge of your seat sort of thing. And yeah, and I yeah. I mean, like it was a great time. Like that's really all I can say, and I'm just happy that I got to be part of it.
Yeah, and the crossover too.
Oh my God, that was because I was a huge fan of Scandal before Murder even existed. So when they invited me to be able to participate in the crossover, I think they knew I would appreciate it the most. So that's why they let me come and do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Asia, this is Karan Lenoir Kelly from Karanism.com and Love Music Pleasure. Lessons in Chemistry really spoke to me in terms of what it means to be a friend, what it means to be an ally, what the real definition of motherhood is. But ultimately, it made me really consider my friendships, because these two were two extraordinarily brilliant women who did not have the support of their male peers. One having their work stolen from them, their life's work stolen from them, the other, finding her way and fighting for others in the neighborhood, and, the white lady being invited to the cookout. They really genuinely developed a love for one another. What can you say about the brilliant women in your life and how your relationships have shifted over time?
Yes, that is a great question, because it really is about the women in my life. It truly is. It really goes back to that. Like when I think about my Nana and the impact she had on me and my sisters, and the relationship I have with my sisters now, and the way we hold each other up and celebrate one another. It is a beautiful experience. And it's so funny because when I first entered this industry, I would always hear so much about how catty women are, how women will backstab you and all this stuff, all these scary things. And that has never once been my experience. And I don't know I don't know where that stems from. I don't know why that is an idea in the ether that women are not to be trusted, because any space I have ever entered where there has been women, like where there have been other women, there has just been joy and love and support and celebration. And that's what I knew from like my family growing up. So that was always my expectation. And I have to tell you, like from an early age, like when I first started out, like even walking into an audition room, which is a tense experience in of itself, you know, and like walking into these spaces where you're like, oh, like I hope I know my lines and I hope I'm going to be chosen, and to sit down and be like, oh my God, like I have to go to the bathroom and I don't know where the bathroom is, and you don't know who to talk to or who to ask, and you turn to the woman next to you and you're like, do you know where the bathroom is? And like, and especially if it's a Black woman, it's like, oh sis, let me show you. Come here. It's like, it's right over here. And here's the code and here's the key. And oh, don't worry, you look cute. And you know, like just all the things that make you feel good about yourself while entering a space. And I think a lot of that might be because like the women that have mentored us, like the women that I've come across, you know, coming into this industry, like Viola Davis and Gabrielle Union, have always just been like the greatest champions of like of all the women around them, like because I don't think there's a sense of competition. It's like I'm only competing against myself. Like, can I be my best self today? If this is for me, it's for me, you know, like period. So I don't need to make you less in order for me to be more. And that's so what I value in this relationship. And like just taking it back to lessons in chemistry, like I love that that is kind of one of the central love stories that we're telling in this show. You know, once you know the love of Elizabeth's life, Calvin, it passes away. uh it's like she is enveloped into my family, into my life, and you get to watch our love grow for one another because like we have this shared grief with one another, and we're able to be our most vulnerable selves and lean on one another in the way that I think only women can when it comes to just having someone who can understand in a really intimate way what it is to feel siloed, what it is to be a mother and think you're supposed to feel a certain way about it, and you know, not have any regrets or not be confused. And it's like, and they really create this community with each other where it's to say like, it is okay that you are struggling, this is hard, it is okay to mourn who you were before this. Like that makes sense, you have dreams and aspirations, and it can be scary to attempt to go after that in the midst of all this, but you still can, you know. And like you brought up allyship, like I love that we have this scene, you know, where she's about to say that she can't go to this peaceful protest alongside me, and says like, I'll make it up to you. And I like, and Harry gets to be like, this it's not like you're missing my birthday party, like, like you're not making something, like this is bigger than that. And like, and if you are going to be in this relationship with me, if we are going to like earn this friendship and it be meaningful to the both of us, it has to go both ways. And like, and if I am fighting for something that is going to affect not only me, but also you, because you live here too, this is our community, you know, then you have to fight alongside me. And so I found so much of the story so impactful, just so important to show what that is, that relationship between women, and what it is when it's women who are fighting different kinds of discrimination as well, you know, because like, yes, Elizabeth might be battling against sex discrimination, but Harriet over here is like dealing with racism and sex discrimination. And you know, it's going to be so many years before Harriet is even in the place where Elizabeth is, you know. And I just like that we really dove into all of that to show like how you can be an ally, how you can stand along someone, like how you can, what it means to truly show up in that friendship, what it means to show up and love someone for who they are, and truly embody all of that.
Thank you so much for that. I thought it was such a beautiful blossoming to those relationships, and the fact that it happened over time and with specific events. where nobody else would have done but another woman who understood.
Yes.
And also that nothing was mansplained away when it came to the way they supported each other. Thank you so much. Performance was brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Jill Monroe, RSVP with Jill Monroe on KBLA Talk 1580. So kind of along the themes of what you were just speaking of, being that the times were what they were, there are nuances in how Elizabeth and Harriet find their voice, and it comes out in different ways over the course of time. Can you just speak a little bit to those nuances and how they develop and what they took from each other? Because of course, because of the time, they actually had to approach things much differently, but still in the same way.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like the way, especially during that time period, you know, like that's what kind of makes them both like a little bit of a unicorn in their own right, that they are defying the perceived notions of how a woman should behave in this period of time. You know, Elizabeth has the nerve to like speak up and say like, wait a minute, I'm smart too. and I came up with this. And Harriet has the nerve to be like, well, now hold on, you're calling this community blighted, but we've got like millionaires and mansions and children selling lemonade on the corner, and it is as worthy of a place to live as anywhere else in this city. And just the fact that people underestimate the both of them. And I think what they do so well is that they know they're going to be underestimated, so they're able to kind of, like, you know, in that second episode where I'm at the city council meeting and asking like, what does the word blighted mean, since you're using that word to refer to this neighborhood? And of course, the people surrounding me, the white men surrounding me, think like, oh well, poor little dumb black girl, like, you know. And then like the speech, like, because at the end of the day, like, Harriet's a shark. Harriet's like, I'm gonna let you open your mouth to let you make a fool of yourself. I don't even have to do it for you. I'll let you make a fool of yourself, and then I'm gonna come with all the details of just how wrong you are. And that's also, you know, because this was also based on the true story of the West Adams neighborhood here in Los Angeles. This is the 10 freeway to Santa Monica devastated this neighborhood. And like, that was another thing that I was really happy that we were highlighting in the story, like telling the true story of what happened here. And the way she dives in that next speech to talk about, like, we have millionaires and mansions and Oscar winners and Nobel Peace Prize winners. And that was the truth. Hattie McDaniel had a mansion there. Ray Charles had a music studio there and a house there. Like, it was the Black elite that existed in this space and had this beautiful, thriving community. And I just love in that moment the way they, like, the writing was so phenomenal. And it was something, you know, like, you know, as an actor, it was something just so juicy to dive into, because it can be so gentle, it can be so smooth, because it's all facts. And I think that's something that we did a lot with our characters. We used the way that people would underestimate us to just gently deliver the facts. Like, you're coming in with your ideas and stereotypes of how I am meant to be and exist, but I am going to very gently and intelligently tell you what the truth is. And the truth is I am beyond capable of handling all of this in the same way, if not better, than how you are. And yeah, it was just one of my most favorite things about the series, that it wasn't like just one episode. You know, it wasn't like, oh, she's fighting against the freeway and you never heard about it again. You know, like, that it carried through, and that also in the midst of that, you learn about her marriage, you learn about what it was for her to be a mother, and you see that for both of them, and to see that it's not easy, but that they are going to continue to push forward and push through, because that's what they're made of. And there is like this innate desire to prove themselves for themselves, you know, to give themselves that grace and to honor themselves in that way. And yeah, I really enjoyed being able to explore that throughout the series.
Thank you.
Dana Abercrombie, The Coalition. I'm fascinated. You kind of touched a little bit upon this already, but I'm fascinated by how the characters expanded from the book. We do get the story of the Sugar Hill community, which, you know, a lot of people do not know of. I understand that the show worked with a cultural consultant as well. Can you talk about working with her and also expanding that storyline, and what was it that you wanted to bring to Harriet that we have not seen before?
Yes, the cultural consultant, Dr. Shamel Bell, like creme de la creme. Like, she is quite possibly the smartest person I've ever met. Like, let's just start there. But like, she helped me give Harriet so much more agency and understanding of that time period, because I didn't even know the details of the like, when they said Sugar Hill, I was like, New York? And they're like, no, like there was a Sugar Hill in Los Angeles, and I had no idea. And I also was not surprised, like, you know, of course. But Shamel was she was so phenomenal in just being a touchstone for everything, to make sure that it was grounded and lived in and true. And she talked about like music, and she talked about church and the way, you know, people took part in the community and just what those relationships were. So I could like build my character off of that. And I was really able to take the information that she gave me. Like, we spent a lot of time with each other, and she would come to set every time I was filming, just so that like everything, you know, just making sure everything was in its place. And what was also great was that the writers were so collaborative. The other actors were so like, everyone wanted you to feel like this was yours, that you own this. Because yes, my Harriet is different from the Harriet in the book. The Harriet in the book is an older white woman. Not me. You know, and but the heart of the story, the heart of the relationship between Harriet and Elizabeth is the same. But like, the expansive world that we got to create with my Harriet was, for me, just so necessary and mind-blowing. And then of course, you know, when you're playing a character, and it's like, okay, you know, the story is going to follow Elizabeth and everything, and her trajectory and everything she's doing. You know, my initial fear was, okay, well, I don't want to be someone who's just like off to the side, just like popping up each day to be like, hey, how you doing? You know, like, but that, you know, and that you understand the inner life of my character. And we really created that. Like, I feel like we really honored that with diving into her nuances, and like, and everything from like, you know, how like my house in the series is populated with photos of my family, of my grandmother and great aunts, and my parents' baby pictures are on the wall. And it's like, it was such a collaborative process that I got to own as much of it as anyone else. You know, every inch of it was also what I could bring to it, to make me feel like this space was built for me, you know, to be able to do my job as an actor. And yeah, and just getting into that story and wanting it to be as authentic as possible. Like, having Shamel there, just like, she made that so perfect. You know, and like, and you know, and she's a Black woman too. And it's like, you know, it's great to see like the reverence, her receiving the reverence she deserved for the intelligence she was bringing to the storyline, to make sure that it was honest and grounded in truth.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique. And one of the questions I had, actually your last answer touched upon that a little bit. I wanted to know, what did you learn about playing this role, like some of the history, considering the time period, and also how do you feel that your character compares to your character on How to Get Away with Murder?
Well, like, look, I mean, I love playing both of these characters. But you know, Michaela on How to Get Away with Murder, very modern, driven by different things. Yes, a sense of social justice, but mostly out to you know, make sure she's gonna have her happy ending.
Right.
Versus Harriet, I think Harriet thinks so worldly. Like Harriet, she is just she's going to have just an overall greater impact on the world at large. She's someone who's willing to sacrifice herself to make that happen. You know, which is like, and that was like also one of the things that we kind of wanted to touch on a little bit, just like the ways in which Black women especially put their bodies on the front line and are just so willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good, but how it's also important to make space and take care of themselves because the fight's going to be a long one, so we gotta last. You know. But yeah, like I feel like that's kind of the main difference between them. Like Harriet's thinking is just a little larger in scope. And then like, yeah, in terms of learning, just learning more about the Sugar Hill community here and the devastation of that freeway being created, and how they had an option to go through Fraternity and Sorority Row of USC, which is still here, and that community is not. And how, you know, the Sugar Hill community, like originally West Adams, it was one of the first neighborhoods that was developed in LA, and it was home to a mostly white population because of the racially restrictive covenants that didn't allow Black people to own homes in the area. But then there was a Supreme Court case that passed that invalidated that in 1948. And that's when Black people started being able to like legally move in, but it was still a fight, like, of course. And once Black people started moving in, then the white people started moving out and developing Beverly Hills. And so it was really interesting, like learning, oh, okay, like, you know, like, oh, so they were all living over here. And then the second, like, Black person moved, they all moved over there. And, you know, and then like, oh, now I want to build a freeway. And it's like, and just how freeways, especially, like decimated so many thriving Black populations. Like that was the institutional racism that, like, that the tool of it was being used in order to level these communities. And yeah, like I'll never be able to drive down that freeway the same way, of course, because it's like it hurt. I mean, it hurts, you know, learning about this stuff always hurts. It hurts. It's kind of a twofold hurt that it happened and hurt that you never learned about it, really, you know? And so, I mean, I'm just grateful that I got to participate in honoring the people that did fight against it and telling their story.
Nice, thank you. And it makes me look at the fire that happened there recently a bit different.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder, when is it going to end? I mean, it's just what we've had to overcome to move forward in this country, I tell you.
You know, and that's the thing about human nature, right? Like, chances are it will never end, but that also means that we will never stop fighting.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Asia, thank you so much for your time. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, we want you to know that we will continue to follow you, support you, and uplift you as you continue to make strides with your career. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays and thank you so much. Like it truly, truly means so much. I really appreciate this. I feel so seen by you all. Like, thank you.
Yeah, know that you are. Know that you are. And thank you for watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.